my name is Casey. See a lot of new faces. I am the Community Engagement Manager here at Festival and Park Coordinator. Excited you're here. I have this little sheet. If you'd like to fill it out, you're more than welcome. If not, that's okay too. So we're compiling email lists because I send out weekly emails about the upcoming author talks. We have some pretty cool ones coming up into May already, which is pretty sweet. So if you'd like to fill this out, that would be awesome. I will email you in a big email blast. So there you go. We're excited to have Robyn VanDerSys and MJ Witt to talk about one of my favorite books. 75 Miles is pretty awesome. I read it already. It's good. One of my favorite genres. So excited here. Thank you for being here. Without further ado,
thank you
off
for
to the races. Yeah.
While we're in administrative stuff, we have a sign-up list. If you're not on Raventhorn Books, who's our publisher, newsletter, they make all the announcement about new books coming out, whatever. There's a sign-up list up here. If you sign up, you get a ticket, and Robyn and I are giving away 5 books at the end of this, signed author copies for free, so one of each of our books. So you're welcome to come sign up afterwards, and we'll get that squared away. And then if you don't have copies of our books, we did bring some number of copies over there as well. There's also some free bookmarks over there. Help yourself. I think that's all the administrative stuff, isn't it?
I think so.
We are broadcasting live if everything goes well on Facebook.
Like it's working.
So
Hi, Facebook.
Facebook world. Hopefully we'll have some folks tuning in from Facebook land as well. So, so you know, if you traipse across in front of the camera, just be aware of that. So, I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
All the administrative.
Okay, we're done. We'll see you
You're
guys
done.
next time. Totally kidding.
Start with
Yeah,
the
sure.
directions and all.
So I will go ahead and tell you ahead of time, I'm not a speaker. I'm a conversationalist, so I will just give you a quick kind of overview of how I got here. And Mike will do the same, and then we'll kind of open it up to questions or comments or whatever you guys have for us. So I got started writing just a few years ago as a bucket list thing. It was just one of my things I wanted to do was write a book. I really didn't have any plans for it, and so I sat down, started writing. And one of the authors that I followed at the time started up a publishing company. And so I thought, you know what? It's the genre I'm writing in. It was 75 Miles, which is like a survival post-apocalyptic story. And for the heck of it, I submitted it to him, and he's like, yeah, we like this, we want it. I'm like, shocked, of course. And so I finished it, did a few tweaks for him, and just a few months later, I got contacted by another publishing company, Boyd Craven Jr., and he said, hey, we're doing this collaboration of authors in this whole world of, it's going to be the same EMP event, but how it looks in different parts of the country by different authors' perspectives. Would you be interested in writing for this? And I'm like, I'm not an author. Like, this was just a luck thing that I got published and, you know, had a little success. And he's like, just think about it, just think about it. I'm like, okay. So I literally thought about it for all summer, because I do not write in the summer. We all know how short the summers are here. So by the end of the summer, I was like, this might be kind of fun. So I said yes. I started working on Black Hills Fall, which is my favorite book that I've written. It takes place here in Spearfish, and so you might recognize a lot of the business names or even people's names that you might actually know. And that's kind of where it went from there. And so since then, I wrote a sequel to 75 Miles, and that was 100 Miles. And these books also take place in the Black Hills. Unfortunately, I had some bad advice on not using the actual names of locations and towns in the Black Hills for this book, so I had to kind of continue that theme into the second one. But with Black Hills Fall, my new publisher was like, do it. Use the road names, use the business names. People love that, and I have had such an awesome feedback doing that. And so now I'm currently working on Black Hills Fall 2, which will mainly take place in Deadwood. Things get kind of crazy in Deadwood after the EMP. So that's my story, and I will open it up to Mike.
Okay, a lot of you know me. I see friends, family, classmates out in the audience, so thanks you all for coming. I grew up in Spearfish since I was in first grade, kindergarten actually, 5 years old. Went to school here, graduated here, still have lots of family here. get back 1 or 2 times a year. Love being here. Living in Washington State on Vashon Island right now. I got into writing, we can blame it on Robyn, really. Christmas before last, I was in an airport, Rapid City, flying home after visiting family, and I picked up this book, and it's like, oh, it's a local author and post-apocalyptic fiction, which I kind of like the genre, and so I bought it and read it on the plane. Loved the book, 75 miles. And I got home and I looked Robyn up, and she was on Facebook, and so I started bugging her and said, you know, I love your book. Why don't you name any of your places, the real names? But we chatted back and forth, and she's like, well, if you like this genre, I'm doing this new project. You should go read this series, October, Fall. See if you like it, whatever. And so I did, and loved the series, and it got me thinking that I live in kind of a unique place for a apocalyptic type of situation on an island, and I'm like, I wonder if I could do that. And so I wrote 3 chapters and screwed up my courage and sent it to Robyn and crossed my fingers and sweated a little bit. Robyn was gracious enough to read it, and she said she loved it, and I want to send it to my publisher, and so we sent it to Raven Thorn, and they read it and liked it, and they said, finish the book, we'll publish it. So I got busy and knocked the rest of the book out, and that came out August 20th of last year, and had great success, thankfully. So I started writing, and I've got the sequel to it, Vashon Island Fall 2, just came out in January 20th, and then I'm about halfway, not quite halfway, through Black Hills Island Fall 3. So there's going to be planned a total of 4 right now, so I'll have a busy year. I'm going to try to get 4 things published this year if I
He writes a lot faster than
button
I do.
here, so right now, rainy season in the Pacific Northwest, so I don't have many other excuses to get some writing done. So that's how I got into writing, and why I'm here. It's obviously an awesome opportunity to come back to the hometown and talk with Robyn, and this is our first time actually meeting face to face. Not today, but this trip, and so that was a wonderful opportunity, and she graciously invited me to come share the venue and do talk as well. So. We're going to do this very much conversational, question and answer. If you have thoughts, suggestions, what are you doing with your new books, that sort of thing, we would love to hear them. Let us know. Robyn mentioned she's going to be doing Deadwood with her next book, Focus. I can give you a little teaser for Vashon Island Falls 3. It's going to be subtitled Seattle Falls, or Seattle Fall, we're not 100% sure yet. But I'm introducing 2 brand new characters. One is a police officer that lives in Seattle, downtown Seattle. He's been a police officer all of his career, not a prepper at all. And so he has to deal with the whole inner city disintegration as that occurs. And so I'm taking the timeline back for book 3 back to the event timeline. And it'll be his experience for the most part. And then the second new character I'm introducing is a gal, a new doctor up in Alaska, and her parents live in Portland, and so she'll be making her way down here to check on her parents, and they run into each other, and eventually they make their way to Vashon Island and get introduced into the timeline of the rest of the characters. So they will be in book 4 all together in one happy group. So unhappy depending on the circumstance. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. So
Any questions?
see, we have one.
I was just wondering, when you're creating characters and when you're creating spaces, whether you use the real names or fictitious names, and you say you have to go back on the timeline, and I'm assuming there are timelines in yours too. Do you have to graph it out, or does it just unfold for you?
You want to answer first?
I'll start. So there's a couple different aspects to the answer in that. One, how do we track characters and timelines is very important, because I think we have about 12 authors now in this collective series. It's been a very interesting experiment. I don't know of any other group that's doing something like we are, and you know, it's like an anthology, but it's a series anthology. And so every author is writing in a different area of the United States, and we just had Alabama come out last weekend. We have another Indiana book coming up this weekend. We have Texas, New Hampshire, Ohio, all sorts of books still coming out. So it does become very important to make sure that we are not crossing paths and writing on the same timelines and tripping over each other, let alone our own books and characters and timelines. So I know I keep a chronological timeline of all 3 of my books. And then collectively as a series, we have a master timeline where we write all of the events, the major events that are happening in each of our books against this master timeline that we reference. We can still get tripped up. We had a trip up with some weather with 2 books that were being written by different authors in a close location, and one of them had a snowstorm and one of them had an Indian summer, and so I had to do a little bit of adjustment there last minute, but it can still happen. And then as far as characters, I keep a character list for each of my books and then a master list. That's more, we don't typically have to cross genre, although we are doing more and more cross-project references. In my book 2, I have 4 or 5 chapters I wrote with Mark Lauren, who wrote the October book, October Falls books. We got together and worked and wrote those chapters collaboratively, and then wrote them from each other characters' viewpoints. And, that's probably the most extensive, but I'm going to be referencing some characters in Robyn's book for my upcoming book, and I have a character of a new character of a daughter of one of my characters that's coming out in the Ohio book, and we're doing a lot more of those collaborative stuff, and because the readers really enjoy it, it's fun for us to write it. So second half of that is, as you can see, I'm like Robyn, I'm a talker, and I talk and talk and talk, so hopefully she will slap me if I start talking too much. So I've never been afraid to get up and jabber. So the second part of that is there's sort of 2 author writing styles in broad terms, and we call them outliners or pantsers. And outliners are the type of authors that sit down with an idea and outline their entire book ahead of time before they even start writing on a page. I am not an outliner. Pantsers are writers who write by the seat of your pants, and don't do that. And so I am definitely in the pantser category. I love to be a storyteller and just see where the story unfolds, and half the time I'm surprised myself by the time I get to the end. I like to typically put a list together of plot hooks, interesting scenarios or scenes that I think would be fun for the reader to read. And then I try to figure out, as I write my story, how to guide the story against those plot hooks and incorporate them into the story. So, how about you?
I am definitely a pantser. I don't even, I usually kind of have an idea what I want the ending to look like, because you want your ending to be pretty climactic, right? But I am not an outliner either. I use character files for my characters to keep them all straight, because Black Hills Fall starts in a neighborhood, a fictitious neighborhood over between Spearfish and Whitewood. And there's a lot of people living there, so I just write little points. This character drives this vehicle. This character likes this or has this personality. Because it is hard to keep it all straight. And it is kind of difficult as we start doing crossovers into these other books. Because you'll read, like, somebody will incorporate your characters in their book, and you're like, well, I don't think they would have said that or did that. And so it's really interesting just to see how other people, first of all, view your characters, because I have a certain idea in my mind, and then that particular author might view them a little differently. So it's definitely been educational and fun and just really interesting. So yeah.
And it's
Hopefully
interesting that
your
it's
question.
more than one author. It's not like one author who wrote 10 or 15 books.
Of different locations,
Of
right?
different locations,
Yeah.
right. Then he's in control, whereas you have the freedom.
Yes.
Other authors have the
Yes.
freedom to use some of your characters.
Yeah.
So we were told, like, the major points on the timeline, like Russia is going to invade through Canada, this area at this time. China invades at fill in the blank. Florida, what they're dealing with everything else. So we had basic things that we had to obviously stay on the timeline, but other than that, we had, and then we would tie in like ham radio communication and stuff like that, but otherwise we pretty much get to write what we want and how we want. Like, we've got some authors in this collaboration that are really, really military focused because they were in the military, and amazing. And then I am character based. I like to write about what does that person think, or how would that person react to this particular situation or whatever. And I think Mike writes that way too. And then other people are just, you know, we all just have such interesting, differing styles of writing, and so it's really a pretty unique thing that Robyn Thorn came up with. We're really lucky to be part of it.
Yeah, one of the things I sort of tout the series to other people is that ability to have different authors is really a benefit to readers, because if I pick up a book and don't like this book, I'm probably not going to read the whole series, you know, because I don't like the author's writing style or what have you. But with our series, you pick up my book and you don't particularly care for my writing. Every author writes different, as Robyn said, and although we try to stay true to the world, the flavors are so very different. And so I encourage people that if you try a location and you don't particularly love it, try a different location, because we have everything from very Christian-based authors to military to very character-driven. We have a couple.
And violent, but then some are really, really, I mean, none of them are not clean, but some of them are really clean, and some of them are a little bit more violent.
Edgy, right.
So
Yeah.
you'll find something you like.
Yeah.
And I think, don't you think that every author in the collaboration has written from where they actually live? Is there anybody that hasn't?
Live or have lived.
Yeah.
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 So everybody has at least an understanding of the location they're writing about.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And they were given the permission to the whatever road or whatever, they were restricted like you were restricted with your first.
The publishers have been very open and collaborative with us. They're fabulous. I can't, Boyd and Lee and then the rest of the editors have been both amazing to work with and very supportive. They've been mentors to us, and we have several new writers like myself that have come in fresh and have never done any writing.